Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danae if you're new here, and today I'm going to be filming my 2024 TBR, aka all the books on my physical TBR because there's a lot of them. And I am filming this for one reason only, is to keep myself accountable for reading these books because I have so many of them on my physical TBR right now, and I really want to see how many of those, if I start at the beginning of the year, how many of those are actually read by the end of the year. So let me preface this by saying when I started my channel around in like April, May, I did all my books on my physical TBR, and there was 32 books in that, and I only read 8 of them. So here's hoping I have better luck this year and that I actually complete my physical TBR. And I have some really good books on my TBR, I really do. It's just like in a world of books that are constantly changing and growing, and there's constantly more books being published every day, I get a little sidetracked, and that's okay. But I'm gonna go through all of them, and I'm gonna do this like rapid fire. I'm not gonna give much explanation for these books because there's just genuinely too many. And let's get started. So the first book is The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. And I don't really think this is my genre of books, but I've heard really good things nonetheless, so maybe one day I will read it. Next, I have Lore by Alexandra Bracken, and this was on my TBR last year and I just didn't get to it last year. This has been on my TBR for a few months. I just have not gotten to it. It's like Greek mythology x Hunger Games, and it's a standalone. I just like really need to get to it. And then I have The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros, and I have a few of like Rebecca Yarros's first books that she published like before Fourth Wing. Again, just haven't gotten to it. This is a fairly recent purchase, however, and I'm really excited. With that, I also have The Things We Left Unfinished, or We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros, and these both have been like popping off on TikTok recently, so I gotta read them. Next, I have Beg You to Trust Me by B. Celeste. I read Dare You to Hate Me, and I really liked that one. And I know that the third one, this is the second one, the third one just came out recently, so like maybe I'll finish the Linda New series by her. Maybe. Then I have You Again by Kate Goldbeck, and I've heard great things about this. I just also think this is like really not my genre. I know it's romance, but it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's more like fiction-y romance and like romance. I could be wrong on that, but will I ever read this book? I don't know, but the cover is really pretty and I've heard great things, so maybe yell at me to read it and I will. The next book is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and I have not read an Abby Jimenez book, but I've heard such great things about them, and I really need to read this. This is on my January like immediate TBR, and I'm really excited to read it. And then next I have Forever Never by Lucy Score, and I genuinely have no idea what this is about. Let's see. You don't fall for your brother's high school sweetheart, your boss's daughter, or your ex-wife's best friend, especially when they're all the same woman. Oh. Oh. You don't fall for your brother's high school sweetheart, your boss's daughter, or your ex-wife's. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Huh. Interesting. This might be bumped up to my TBR because this seems like messy, but in a great way. Okay. The next book by Lucy Score is Things We Left Behind, and if you guys don't know, I loved Things We Never Got Over, but I DNF'd Things We Left Behind, and I put off reading this book just because I wanted to wait until like the hype died down, because sometimes if I see like too many reviews of a book that are like either positive or negative, it can kind of like skew my decision. So I kind of like to wait when hyped books are died down so I can like go in it with an open mind, you know. The next one is American Queen by Sierra Simone, and I've never read a book by Sierra Simone. I know this is considered more, I don't want to say dark romance, but this one's, I think it's Why Choose, which isn't my favorite, and I didn't know when I bought it. So will I ever read this? Probably not, just because Why Choose is not my trope of choice, but you do you. And then the next two are from the St. Mary's, I don't want to say duet because there was duet, but then there's more books. So the St. Mary's series by S.J. Silvis. So I have Dead Girls Never Talk and Heartless Boys Never Kiss, and I loved the first two, and I'm excited to read these. I just haven't gotten to them, and yeah. Next pile. Okay, so this next one is, I feel like I hauled these pretty recently when I talked about my, I think it was my November wrap up, and I was kind of talking about my December TBR, and like all these were kind of on my December TBR, but I knew I was not going to get to them because it was like an absurd amount. So the first books I have are The Trial of the Sun Queen and Rule of the Aurora King by Nisha Tooley. And I know a third one's coming out, so I'm kind of like hesitant to start the first two just because I like when series are complete, so I can kind of like read them back to back to back. But I've heard great things nonetheless. And then next, if you guys don't know, then you guys know that I love Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and I'm patiently waiting for my Ruthless Vows to be here. I pre-ordered it. By the time you see this video, I'll probably already read Ruthless Vows, so I know I'll love it. But Rebecca Ross has a more age-appropriate fantasy duology. If you guys don't know, Divine Rivals is YA, so this is like romance, or this is like fantasy. So this is A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless. And then I talked about this, that I love these movies and I haven't read the books, which feels criminal in my opinion, but it's never too late. So I have the Divergent series by Veronica Roth. So I have Divergent, Insurgent, and Allegiant, and I have like the really pretty 10th anniversary special edition covers, and I just think they're like way better than the original covers. So don't come at me, don't come at me. Okay, and these ones are fairly new purchases, and I'm so excited to read them. And if I could drop my TBR to read these two, I'm blurry. And if I could drop my TBR to read these two, I absolutely would, but these might be like one of the first reads of the new year. So I have a Defy the Night and Defend the Dawn by Bridget Kemmerer. How you pronounce that last name is beyond me, but I know the third one's also coming out, I think in January, and I've heard amazing things about this, like amazing. So these are high on the priority TBR. And then this one is a hockey romance, because who doesn't love hockey romance? It's Unsteady by Peyton Corinne, and again, who doesn't love a hockey romance? I love hockey romances, even though, do I watch hockey? No. But do I eat up hockey romances every single time? Yes. Yes, I do. This one has been on my TBR for so long. And Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan. I read the first two. I loved the first two. I don't know why I stopped. I don't know when I'm going to read this book. I really wanted to finish it in 2023 because I read the first two, obviously. That just didn't happen. That's not happening. Today, when I'm currently filming this, it's the 28th, and I'm reading a book that I need to finish before the 1st, so there's just like no shot on this planet I'm finishing this, but maybe if you yell at me, I will finish it. Okay, this one, fairly new, fairly controversial. I don't think I ever I love this author, but this book was just like not it for some people. But it also was like one of the best books ever. It's Never by Jessa Hastings, and I just like don't know if I can read this. I really tried to not let other people's books opinion skew my own, but sometimes it just happens, especially when you see like negative review after negative review after negative review. You just like cannot go into this book with a positive mindset or even like an open mindset. So it's a really pretty cover and I love Jessa Hastings, but this one might never be read, and that's okay. But it's okay that I can acknowledge it and we can move on from it. And then this one is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout, and I have wanted to read the From Blood and Ash series for a really long time. I just saw this edition in Target. Like, they don't sell this one at Barnes, so I had to buy it, and I'm just trying to determine if I want to buy the rest of the series on the regular, you know, covers and read them, or if I should just like wait to see if Target continues the series in like this format. I'm not sure, but I haven't heard much about this series either. So, but you know, when someone tells me to read it, I have it and I'll read it. So okay, so now we're moving on, and these are mostly fantasy. So first I have the first 3 of the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare, because I know it goes the first 3 of Mortal Instruments, and then the 3 Infernal Devices, and then the last 3 of Mortal Instruments, if I'm correct. But I only have the first 3 of Mortal Instruments because I was like, this starts the order. So I have City of Bones, City of Ashes, and City of Glass. And it's like a 8 book series, and so I figured I would start with 3, and then if I like was enjoying them, I would buy the next couple, and next couple, you know how it works. I just didn't want to overwhelm my TBR with buying all 8 of them, because that would be like catastrophic for me, not gonna lie. And then I got the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is kind of like a YA. I don't really want to call it thriller. I just don't have it in me to call it a thriller, but it's kind of like a mystery series. So I have The Naturals, I have Killer Instinct, I have All In, and I have Bad Blood. The next one is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Morin. This book I've had on my TBR for 2+ years at this point. And I think I bought this in like 2021, and I've heard such good things about it. The only reason I'm waiting is because I don't have 2 and 3. And so once I buy 2 and 3, I will take reading this series a little more seriously. But it's here. It's been here for a long time, and in 2024 I will read it. Mark my words. Let's move on, okay? And then I have Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, and again, I'm just waiting for the sequel to come out with this because it's out, but it's in hardback, so I won't be reading it until the sequel comes out in paperback at least. Or I might not even read this book in general, if I'm being completely honest with you. I just don't really care about this book that much, and it is what it is. Next is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and this is also where the sequel's in paperback and hardback right now, and I'm waiting for it to to be published in paperback, so it matches. And this is like Secret Society, kind of dark academia-ish vibes, so sounds good. And then I have Renegades by Marissa Meyer, and honestly, I think Marissa Meyer, she's like not an author for me. I read Heartless by Marissa Meyer and I DNF'd that one, so I don't have high hopes for this, but you never know. Maybe one day someone will influence me to read this, and that day will probably not be in 2024, but what can you do about it? Okay, I think I've honestly lost track of how many books I've talked about. I think we're at like the 40 mark-ish, 40-ish book mark. I don't know. I have to go back and count, but the next couple books are Twin Crowns by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. And a lot of these, again, this also has a sequel that's in hardback that I refuse to buy until it's in paperback, so that's a big reason. Like that's a big reason for me. And I will hold off on reading a series until they're all in paperback. So, but then I have Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, and I've heard like such great things about this book. I just feel like I can't move on in the Kennedy Ryan world until I finish Hookshot, and so I really need to finish Hookshot so I can like keep going, but that's on the TBR. I have Say You Still Love Me by K.A. Tucker. I loved the Simple Wild series by her, and this kind of, I don't think this has the same feel. She's a 29. Yeah, this has nothing to do with like completely different, I don't want to say plot line, but like doesn't have that like small town Alaska vibe. That's what I'm getting. It's not like, it's city. Anyway, so that's on the TBR. These two thrillers, The Housemaid and Silent Patient. I'm not a thriller girl, not a thriller person, so will I read these? No, but they're on the TBR nonetheless. So do with that what you will. Okay, next I have City of Dusk and The Midnight Kingdom by Tara Sim, and this is like big. This is big fantasy and this is high fantasy, and I'm so intrigued. But with high fantasy, like, you really gotta go in with an open mind because it can be brutal in like the best way. It's just it can be a lot of information, and if you're not ready for it, then you'll be setting yourself up for failure. So I'm not ready for this, but one day I will be, and I'm actually really excited to read them, but I gotta wait a little bit. Next, this book, oh my gosh, Anastasia by Sophie Lark. I love Sophie Lark's books, I do. The only problem is this book is literally like 600 pages, and for the life of me, I don't know why. I don't know why. I can't. This is a 600 page retelling romance of Anastasia, kind of. I just, the size of this book intimidates me. It does. It really does. And whew, just like looking at it makes me kind of want to cry because I don't want to read it because it's that just like huge and intimidating. But maybe 2024 is the year, maybe not. Next I have Things I Wanted to Say and Promises We Meant to Keep by Monica Murphy, and these are more books than like the Lancaster Prep by her. So I've read A Million Kisses, and I think this is the first one. Million Kisses was second, and Promises We Meant to Keep was third, but these are interconnected standalones, so like you don't have to read them in order at all. But these have both been on my TBR for quite some time. I just like don't really care. That's one way to put it. Next, I have My Dark Romeo by Parker S. Huntington and L.J. Shen, and this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling. And I'm not a big fan of retellings. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like retellings are just very predictable, obviously, and I just can't bring myself to read that yet, but I do love Parker S. Huntington as an author. Next I have Be Still My Heart by Emily McIntyre and Sav Miller, and this is a romantic suspense, and I just haven't gotten to it. I really haven't. I haven't heard much about it, so that's probably why I'm not like very eager to read it, and that's all I gotta say about that one. Next I have Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Meyer. I don't know, but I bought it because I like the slight edges, and that's about it. Do I plan on reading this book? No, not in any capacity. And then I have Gothicana by Runix, and this is dark academia, and this is just one of those books that you have to have your mind ready for. My mind's not ready. My mind is not open, but one day it will be, and I will read this. Probably after The Syndicator comes out, which is the final book in the Darkverse series. I feel like I like cannot move on if I don't finish Darkverse, but the last Darkverse book isn't out yet, so Gothicana is going to be an after Darkverse is complete read. Okay, so this next series, I read the first one, and this is another high fantasy series, and honestly, I don't think I can bring it in me to complete it because I really didn't like the first one. High fantasy is just, it's not my cup of tea, and I tried it maybe one day when my palette expands, I will finish this series, but it's the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, so I have Jade War and Jade Legacy. I read Jade City and I liked it, but these are just like very complex high fantasy books, and it's very, I don't like to say the word political, but the world building is just like very intense, and it's not like fun and like fun, it's not fun fantasy, if that makes sense to you. It's like fantasy where it's just like a lot of information and you kind of get lost sometimes, and I got lost, and I don't know when I will get unlost to read this. This one is Sorrow and Starlight by Suzanne Peckham or Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. If you guys know, I'm a ride or die for the Zodiac Academy books. I read 1 through 7. I loved 1 through 7. I got 50% into this book, and I simply like couldn't do it anymore. It was like I was hitting a slump, so I have literally like half the book annotated. You can't really see them. I have half the book annotated and half the book not, but one day, or book 9's coming out in April, so I have to finish this. And I don't know if I'm going to completely start from the beginning or if I'm just gonna pick up right where I left off and like hope it makes sense, you know? Because I feel like if I start from the beginning, I have to start from the beginning of the series, and I don't know if I have it in me to reread 8 books that are hefty books too. If you guys know the Zodiac Academy series, then you know it's not just like an easy read. Like, they are thick books, but I kind of want to at the same time, and maybe if I pace it out and I do like 2 until April, like 2 every month until April, maybe I'll get through it. So TBD on that. I will let you guys know if I do that. I will try to do like a reading vlog of it and try to like document my progress, because I think that'd be like really interesting to see, especially because I love Zodiac Academy, and if I'm gonna go back to the beginning and like do the whole thing over again, I would love to document it. So again, TBD on that, but I will keep you guys updated. This next series is the rest of the Kingsmaker series by Sophie Lark. So this is, if you guys don't know, I read the Brutal Birthright series by her, and Kingsmaker is 2nd generation. So it's all those couples' children, and they're at like this boarding school for like mafia families. So I read the first one, which was The Heir, and then the next 4, they're not in order, give me a second. The next 4, it goes The Rebel, the Bully, the Spy, and then the Savage. And again, these are all the kids of the first series couples, and you guys know I love a good second generation, so I am so excited to like go back into this world and finish these books. Okay, and then the next one is Gallant by V.E. Schwab, and you know, if you ask me what this book is about, I don't know, no idea, but I just always loved the cover and I kept on like fixating on the cover, and so I bought it, and I'm really excited to read it at some point in my time. And then this series people have been screaming at me to read, and since all the books are out, it's finally become a priority for me to read them. It's the Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber, because I read the Caraval series, and this is a spin-off of that one. So I have Once Upon a Broken Heart, A Ballad of Never After, and then A Curse for True Love. And these are like, again, high priority, high TBR, and I'm excited to get to them eventually. Hopefully in January, but my January TBR is kind of full, so maybe February. And then the last book of this video is going to be Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco, however you say that. I read the Kingdom of the Wicked series by her, and I loved that series, and this is a spin-off of that one. So this is Wrath's brother Envy and like his story, and I'm really excited. It's just a really thick book, and I'm scared, but I'm excited. Okay, so that was 62 books. 62 books. And we will see how many of those I finish by the end of the year. But I feel like that's a counterintuitive because I'm going to buy so many as the year progresses. So it's like, there is no good way to keep track of books like that, because for every one book I read, I buy 5 more. So maybe I'll do like a mid-year TBR and see like where I stand, because I'm very intrigued to see how many of these books are going to be finished by the end of the year. And I'm excited, but nervous. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if there are any books that you love and you stand by, and if you would sell your soul to read, please comment so then I'll read them. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.